Hello and welcome back. Today is Foundation Roundup Day. I'm going to be discussing more in depth all of the foundations that I've been trying out over the last couple of weeks. I'll have the initial first impression reviews listed down below in case you missed any of them, as well as detailed timestamps in case you wanted to skip ahead to anything. And now, with all of that out of the way, let's get started. I'm going to start by talking about the foundation that I like the most, and that is probably no surprise if you watched my videos, but that is the new reformulated Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation. I have the shade Formentera. What I really like about the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation is how much it looked like my skin, but better. I really felt like this was one that I could apply with my fingers, with a brush, with a sponge, even though I do have my preferences. This was something that I could throw on my face to walk out the door and feel comfortable. It covered my redness, it covered all of the spots I wanted covered, it blurred, it smoothed. It really is truly just a my skin but better foundation. It really just enhanced my features and covered up any imperfections that I was looking to cover up. So I do highly recommend this foundation, and I stand by all of the things that I enjoyed about it in my initial review. Not much has changed since then. I've had really great experiences using this foundation, so there's not much to update you on. My only problem with the foundation really is just a personal problem, and that is that it's not quite as dewy or glowy as I would like it to be, or how its original formula was. So I am mixing in more glowy products. I do mix this with the Glow Lust, or I do mix this with the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation to kind of amp up the luminosity for it. But other than that, I am really happy with this foundation. I wholeheartedly stand by my recommendation to check this foundation out. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 are kind of interchangeable, and their ranking would depend upon what I'm looking for or what I'm looking to achieve for that day's makeup look. It was hard to pick which one fell in what spot. Pretty much 2 and 3 are tied, and those are the Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation and the new Makeup Forever HD Foundation. Spot number 2, for the sake of this video, is the Charlotte Tilbury Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation. I wear the shade 2N. The difference I found between this foundation and the Ilia True Skin Serum is that this one is a little bit heavier. So while the Ilia True Skin Serum really melds in with the skin and wears like a second skin, or like no foundation at all, like it really just is part of your skin, this one doesn't have that quality. It doesn't really become undetectable or indetectable from your skin the way that the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation does. So this one looks like foundation. It's a little bit heavier. It still has a lot of similar qualities to the Ilia foundation. It blurs, it smooths, it's very comfortable, it's long wearing. I had very positive experiences using this one. I was able to use my fingers, a sponge, a brush to apply, and I was always happy with the results. I never felt like I was wearing a heavy foundation. It just wasn't as undetectable or indetectable as I would have preferred it to be. I didn't think that it was very buildable. I know that this foundation does claim to be buildable. I did not think that that was in fact the case. I think that it was more of a low medium coverage, and it could work its way up to a higher medium coverage, but I don't think I ever truly got this one to full. One other thing that I really enjoy about the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, it did wear very well throughout the day. I didn't have any problems with any creasing or caking or anything like that, so I do still really enjoy this foundation and highly recommend it. For the purposes of this video, spot number 3 belongs to Makeup Forever HD Skin. This foundation I went back and forth on. For my foundation today, I am wearing a mix of the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation and the Makeup Forever foundation, and I don't think that I'm having the same shade problem as I had in my initial review video. Having worn this foundation now for a couple of weeks, I have definitely come to enjoy it a lot more than I did during my first couple of wear tests that I documented for that video. During my first impression, it oxidized like crazy, and then during the side-by-side test when I tried it against the original, I didn't necessarily have a great time with it because I didn't feel like it was a very consistent formula. I felt like every time I put it on, I was getting different results. So it has taken a little bit of time to figure out the best combinations for this foundation. Definitely a hydrating base. This is a drier formula, a more matte formula. It is not like a natural satin like the Charlotte Tilbury one was. And it's not even like a true natural foundation. It's definitely more of a natural matte foundation. I know that it is kind of hard to differentiate between those, so I hope you're following along. But Since this one is a little bit drier, I definitely need a more hydrating base. Not just having a hydrating routine to prep my skin, but also mixing into the foundation an additional hydrating base. So mixing in a hydrating primer or mixing in the Auric Glow Lust has helped. And I've also had really great results by mixing in a more radiant foundation. So if I'm looking for more coverage, I will mix in the HD Skin foundation with another foundation. So like the Watertone foundation is light coverage. I mix in the HD Skin and I get more coverage. Or like today, I wanted to just tone down the HD Skin's shade problem. So I mixed in the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, and that helped tone down the shade and also give a more luminous base. So I think that this foundation is definitely something that you will have to work with. I maintain from my initial review that dry-skinned people probably will not enjoy this foundation very much because there is a lot of work that has to go into making this work for drier skin types. I don't know that if I had a drier skin type than I do right now, I'm more normal to dry, more dry in the winter. I don't know if I was an actual dry skin person that I would actually keep this foundation. So I do highly recommend if you're dry skinned, don't try this one. I think that it's not worth the effort. But if you are normal to oily skin or oily skin, I think that you would really find a lot of benefit in using this foundation. If this is something that you're looking for, I think you would really like it. It is long wearing, it's comfortable, it's very blurring and smoothing. It is mostly undetectable. I do sometimes feel like I'm wearing foundation when I'm using this one, so I have to be a little bit more light-handed, and that's why I say I have to mix stuff in because otherwise it can look and feel a bit heavy. Moving on to spot number 4, that brings us to the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I wear the shade Mont Blanc. I really thought the first couple of times that I used this foundation that it would rank higher in my personal ranking, but after using the Makeup Forever HD, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin, and the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation, I definitely saw how those foundations outperformed this one, even though they all have very similar claims. And that is why this one falls pretty much to spot number 4. This foundation is kind of like an outlier because I don't use it as a foundation. So as a foundation, I don't really recommend this one. I recommend it more than the other 2 foundations that I'm going to talk about, but I don't recommend it more than the first 3 foundations. And the reason that I feel like that distinction is really important is that this foundation, for me, does not wear or work very well as a foundation. I have been using this more as a mixer, and I found that it works really well with other products that I have to enhance those products. I don't wear this alone. I found that it has very inconsistent wear. So when I was wearing it in the beginning, I had some really good wear tests, and then I had some really bad days where I was wearing it. So if I can't use a foundation and expect every day that I use it to pretty much have the same results, it's not one that I really want to keep or recommend. So there was that. And then I noticed that because it has a powder-like finish, when I would wear this on its own on like a no makeup day, and I mean like a no makeup day, just throwing something on to neutralize redness or even out my skin tone, it has that powdery finish. So it always looked like I was wearing makeup, which is not what I want on a no makeup day or a makeup day in general. I really like a more seamless base, and this does not give me that. Additionally, I wear a lot of cream products. Creams are what I personally am really interested in, and this foundation did not pair well with cream products. I had a really difficult time applying creams on top of this foundation. It worked really well when I was applying powders, but I tend not to choose powder over cream products. So again, it doesn't work for me and my preferences. Where this foundation or this product really shines is mixing in with other things to enhance those products. I've also been using this as a primer. I'm using the term primer very loosely. In my experience using this foundation, have found that it does not work well over primers. And if I'm putting a barrier in between my skincare routine and this foundation, it's patchy, it pills, it doesn't apply right, it just overall looks very bad. But if this is the layer that I'm putting directly on top of my skincare routine, it looks really nice. My skin looks really nice, and it works as a really nice layer or a really nice base to apply more foundation on top of. While I really enjoy using this foundation. I don't see it as something that I would repurchase, and it's not something that I would recommend buying because the price tag is really hefty, and as a foundation I just don't think that it is very good on its own. And I think that when you're spending that kind of money and you have to put work into the product, I just don't like recommending high maintenance products like that, because I think at that price tag it should work as it's intended to work. To wrap that up, I really like this foundation as a foundation mixer, as a foundation enhancer, as a foundation. I don't think that it works. I've had not great experiences using it, and while I really like how I've been using it, it's not something that I would repurchase, and it's not something that I would recommend you purchasing either. I don't think that it's worth the price tag. I think that if you're looking for something similar to this foundation, the Hollywood Flawless filter kind of fits how I've been using it. They're not the same product at all, but if you're looking for coverage and luminosity and something that you can mix in with your foundation, either the Auric Glow Lust or the Hollywood Flawless filter kind of fit those bills, because you have more versatility with the liquid highlighters, but with this foundation you're really just stuck with a foundation. I don't really recommend just buying a foundation to mix in with other foundations to change the finish or to change the coverage, because there are other products on the market that are cheaper and are specifically meant for that purpose, that would fulfill that purpose a lot better than this foundation. So I don't recommend buying this foundation, even though I'm really enjoying using this and I like the way that it's making my base look and I like things about this foundation. I just don't recommend it. Number 5 is the Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation, and I wear the shade Very Light Cool 120. I had really high hopes for this foundation. I really like Kosas products. I especially like the Revealer Concealer and their cream blush duos. I think they are amazing. Love the highlighter. And I also really enjoy their tinted moisturizer. So I really like their base products. And I was excited to try this foundation because it sounded like something I was really interested in. Medium coverage, natural finish. Obviously, that's kind of my vibe right now. I didn't realize that until right now, but it's kind of what I've been going for. All of these foundations all have that theme in common. So the skincare benefits on top of the coverage, on top of how much I've been enjoying the other brands' products, really had high hopes, and I'm kind of let down, or not kind of let down, but I am let down in terms of my own expectations and my own experience using this product. Of the 6 foundations that I'm talking about today, I've probably used the Kosas Revealer foundation the most, trying to find a way to make this foundation work for me. The other foundations either did work for me right away, or I was able to find a combination of products that make that foundation work, like the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. So I've tried pairing this with different skincare routines. I've tried pairing this with different primers. I've tried mixing in other products with this, and there's just not really one way that I've found that makes this foundation better. It is very lackluster in my opinion. I don't think that there's anything about this that makes it stand out over anything else. I think that it is more of a natural matte finish, so it's a little bit more drying despite having all of the skincare benefits of it and having all of the hydrating products in it. I just don't think that it meshed well with my skin, which is interesting because I'm a drier skin type, so all of these products should be helping my skin, but I didn't feel that way. It felt dry, it looked heavy. I never found a way that I really loved the way that this foundation looked. I never found a pairing of product combinations, whether they be on top of or underneath this foundation, that really made it shine any more than any other foundation. It's just mediocre at best, and I wish that that wasn't the case, but it's just not something that I feel like is worth buying. I think if you're interested in this foundation, then you should go and get a sample of it and see if it's something that works for you, or if it outperforms the other foundations that you're looking to replace, or if it even has a spot within your collection. I think especially right now with all the other new foundation launches that are all within similar kind of categories, skincare based, medium coverage, natural finishes, that this one just doesn't stand out amongst them. If you are looking for a skincare makeup hybrid foundation that's medium coverage with a natural finish, then you're better off getting the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation or the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. Both of those are quite lovely and do exactly what the Kosas foundation claims to do, but they do it better. So my recommendation is don't buy this one, but if you are really interested in buying it, test it out first, because I think that $42 is a lot to sink into a foundation that is really just mediocre. Closing out the list at number 6 is the Dior Forever Skin Glow Foundation. I have the shade 1CR. This one I think hurts the most out of where my expectations were and what I ultimately ended up experiencing. So this is a reformulated version of the original Dior Forever Skin Glow Foundation, which I didn't realize when I was filming my first review. So I'm not sure if that foundation really was so much better than this one, but my experience with this has been super not great, which is how it got itself into last place. I was really hoping to enjoy this foundation because I know that I've heard really good things about Dior foundations in the past, but I just did not enjoy my experiences using this one, and ultimately it gave me a really bad reaction on my face that is finally healing up. But after I had that reaction to using this foundation, I just decided I'm not going to use it anymore. I think I may save a little bit of it for shade reference or for like swatches in the future, but I will be returning this one because I had that weird problem to it. I don't know if I had an allergic reaction or if there's just something that didn't wear well on my skin, but I do know that the reaction was from this foundation because I was doing a side-by-side test of this foundation compared to the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. So on this side of my face, I was wearing the Dior foundation. On the other side of my face, I was wearing the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, and the reaction happened almost instantaneously when I put the foundation on. I don't want to go into detail about the skin reaction that I had because it's kind of gross, but I did have almost an instantaneous reaction when I was applying the foundation. So I am attributing wholeheartedly the reaction to wearing this foundation because it only happened on the half of my face where I wore the Dior foundation. So prior to that though, my experience was also not great. I didn't like the shade. It oxidizes to a weird orange color, which is not a skin tone color. And I didn't think that it was very hydrating. It paired well with more hydrating bases. So if I really prepped my skin with a good skincare routine, if I wore my more hydrating primers like the First Aid Beauty Hydrating Primer, it wore really well with those kind of routines. I like the way that it looked with the sponge more. I think adding that additional hydration from the sponge does help it. It's just a very dry foundation for being something that's supposed to have a radiant finish. I didn't really feel like I got the radiant finish from it. It was more of a matte finish, a more natural finish. I had the idea when I was testing the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, which I tried after using the Dior foundation for the first time, that they were actually really similar, which is why I was doing a side-by-side test. So, if the things about the Dior foundation are really appealing to you, I think you would be better off getting the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. I think that it does everything that the Dior foundation claims, but better. While the Dior foundation does claim to be blurring and smoothing, it does. I did notice some blurring with it, but the Charlotte Tilbury foundation is better. It has more blurring and more smoothing and is overall just more skin-like and not orange. So I just overall think that if there are things that were appealing to you about the Dior foundation, you're better off looking at the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I think that it meets all of the same claims and criteria that the Dior foundation does, but it just does perform better every step of the way. I also had a problem with the Dior foundation being very patchy and clinging to dry patches and not covering my scarring or breakouts or things like that. It pilled, it had inconsistent coverage, it didn't wear well over my healing acne or my more active breakouts, just normal skin texture problems. It didn't wear well on top of. So for all those reasons, and then my own personal reason of having a reaction to it, I just can't recommend this foundation. I don't think that it did a very good job at anything. I don't think that it lives up to its claims or its hype, and it's definitely one that you can pass over in your search for a foundation. Just a general disclaimer that my ranking and recommendations are based on my own experiences, and that if you have a different experience than mine, it does not make your experience any less valid. It does not make me more right or more wrong. It just means that our skin types are different or our product preferences are different, and that is okay. I just wanted to share what my experiences using these products are. If you feel like I missed something or you want something else included in the future, definitely let me know so that I can fix that for the next foundation roundup. But that is going to be all from me today. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you again very soon in my next video.
Is that it?